Let's talk about learning skills and keeping a library of books on hand so we're not dependent on digital anything. Hi everyone, Chris here. Welcome back to Real Life Prepping. Today I would like to talk to you about skills. We should all be right now learning new skills. We should be working on something to help replace goods and services that likely will not continue to be available. All right, so for example, this year I'm learning cold process soap making and pressure canning. Those are my goals. In years past, learning about medicinal herbs and how to make vinegar and taking care of chickens and rabbits have been some goals of mine that I feel like I've attained to a certain degree. So I wanted to share with you a few books that have been helpful for me, but also just encourage you that wherever you are now, start to learn 2 new skills and work on them until you feel like you've got a level of comfort with them so that you can take care of your family when things start to get tough. Now, if you're listening and if you're paying attention to what's going on in the world, you know that there's some problems, okay? So things are going to start to become difficult to get. And services are already kind of difficult to get in some arenas because say you want to re-roof your house, but your roofer can't get the roofing. So even if your roofer's available, the roofing may not be. So that's just an example. A lot of problems are happening right now with car parts. And of course, that's not something that there's a lot that we can do about unless you're a machinist and can make them, which is what we should be doing in our country right now, right? But I don't know enough about that to talk about it. But I do know enough about some of these subjects to talk about them or to recommend books that have been helpful for me. So my point is this. We should be learning skills to help take care of our families and keep us alive during difficult times. We need to go back to the Depression and World War II and look at what made families successful, what made them continue to flourish, what fed them. And we need to talk about learning some of those skills. We need to do something about learning some of those skills. We need to get together with our friends and learn those skills together. And we need to also work on learning how to do without certain luxuries that maybe we're used to having. And that's what I'm trying to do with my family. But some people think that we should just have everything we can while we can have it. So I'm sure there's a couple schools of thought on that. But for today, let's talk about a few things that we can do right now to prepare ourselves to take care of our families. Okay, so for some of you, your first skill would be learning how to cook from scratch. If you were never taught how to cook from scratch, and that means you are not using anything from a box, you're not using a rice mix, you're not using hamburger helper, you're not using pre-cooked items or items from the deli. This means you're using flour and you're using dried pasta is, to me, still cooking from scratch. But you're using flour, you're using your dairy, you're using your meats, you're using your vegetables, and you're putting them together to make a wholesome and satisfying meal, okay? So for some of you, that's where you need to start. You need to start learning how to do that right now, okay? There's gonna be shortages of your things that you've depended on for a long time. If you've depended on commercially packaged food items, those are going to start to become difficult to get and they're going to be very expensive. So in order for you to take care of your family and to be able to afford to feed them, you're going to need to learn how to buy whole foods ingredients and how to prepare them. So if you're not there yet, that is your number 1 goal, okay? Your number 2 goal would be being able to procure those items in order to do it. And you need to be doing that now. Okay, so start learning how to cook whole foods and start figuring out how to find them. If you can find a local egg supplier, meat supplier, so vegetable supplier, if you can't do any of those things yourself, if you can find someone local, shorten your food chain, okay? Shorten your food supply chain so that you can have access to those things much more quickly and much more closely to you, okay? Some other basic skills you might want to work on if you don't know how to sew a button on or mend or anything like that, you might want to learn how to do that. Any kinds of foraging would be a good thing, especially if you live in a more urban area. Just because you do live in an urban area doesn't mean there are not native plants in your area that you can forage. Gardening is another thing. Even if you have balconies, you can still garden in pots and you can grow microgreens and sprout. And those are things I would highly suggest you look into if you are not able to garden. I strongly suggest you look into that and getting sprouting seeds and microgreen seeds now. Also, another thing that you can actually stock up on to keep greens in your diet is any kind of powdered green like spirulina or pre-powdered kale or anything like that. You can either make it or buy it or whatever. Have something like that in your stocks to help keep you guys healthy when things are hard, okay? Especially if you're not able to grow your own greens. So just think about the different vitamins and minerals that that your body requires, excuse me, to run properly, and then work backwards. Figure out what foods give those vitamins and minerals that your body needs, and then figure out how to get them, produce them yourself, you know, if that means sprouting, if that means growing a garden, whatever is appropriate for your position or situation that you're in, figure out how to get that going and learn how to do those things, okay? Okay, so when I was learning and looking into herbalism, a couple books really stood out to me, and I do have more, but these to me are really good books for someone to start out with. And the first one, and you will probably recognize this name if you're in the homesteading community at all or in the gardening community, is Rosemary Gladstar's Medicinal Herbs, A Beginner's Guide. This is what it looks like. And this book goes over first 9 familiar herbs and spices to grow and use, and then 24 safe and effective herbs to know, grow, and use. So this is a really nice handbook of the different herbs, and most of them are all going to be recognizable to you. And these are things that you can use to help your family be healthy. And some of them might even be something that you can forage. So this is a good one. This one is probably at your library, and you could probably check it out. So something that I've always done is check out a book before, if I can, before buying, just to make sure I like it. And I've done that with many books. And so if you want to do that, great. But I strongly suggest you start purchasing books for your home library and you have physical copies of books on hand. Or if you're going to do a Kindle book, you print them, okay? You need to have this information on hand so that you can access it. Here's the other one that I really like, and this is by Amy Fuel. Amy is the founder of Homesteaders of America, and this is called the Homesteaders Herbal Companion. And I really like the way she comes at it from a homesteader's perspective. So she talks about herbs for your chickens and different things, but I like the way this book is organized. It's very well organized and step by step, and I just really like something well organized and comprehensive. So this is a really good book. It has recipes in it, so does Rosemary's book. But again, this is very much from a homesteader's perspective, and I like that. So it's nice to have more than one book. You should always have more than one book on a subject, and probably like you should have some foraging books for your area as well. Every household should have some type of plant identification book specifically written for their area. So I'm in the Pacific Northwest, so I've collected books for my area for that. Okay. Okay, another thing I learned, and I've been doing for a couple years, is I've been making my own vinegar. And this book by Kirsten Shockey is really great. Anything by Kirsten and Christopher Shockey for fermentation is excellent. Their books are excellent. I have their other book on fermenting vegetables, and they're actually local to my area. And I've just learned a lot from them. So this is a really good book if you're interested in making vinegars. I've made vinegars from scraps of things. I had a lot of persimmons, and some of them weren't particularly, they were overripe when I received them because they were given to me. And so I took all those and I made blackberry hard cider persimmon vinegar. Oh my goodness. And then I bottled it. It is awesome. It's great for salad dressings, but vinegars are a really good, healthy thing to add to your diet. And they give you flavor. So when you are making things like, say you start cooking with whole grains, because whole grains are the most practical thing to keep on your shelf right now and to learn to use, because you can either grind them or you can cook them whole. So say I wanted to make a whole wheat berry salad. I would cook wheat berries and then I could dress them with vinegar and oil and add vegetables. And I've got myself a very hearty wheat berry salad, okay? So that's just an example of what you can use a vinegar for. There's lots of different uses for different kinds of vinegar. Apple cider vinegar should be in every household, and also white vinegar. White vinegar is great for cleaning things and for canning. Apple cider vinegar is great for your animals. It's great for you. So that's another thing. And then this guide, Complete Guide to Pressure Canning by Diane Devereaux. This has been really great book for me to learn about pressure canning from. I have really appreciated the way this is laid out. She has tables inside, and I know everyone recommends the ball canning book, and everyone who wants to can anything should own a current ball canning book. However, it's still limited in its recipes, and you still want to look for other pressure canning recipes. And this book is all about pressure canning, and it takes you from canning green beans and canning chicken by themselves to, you know, making full meals that you can in one jar, like an Asian chicken or a beef stew. Okay, so I recommend this one if you want to work on pressure canning. But the Ball Blue book for canning is also a great book, and I use that a lot for jam making and pickle making and relish making, and also the recipes on my Certo pectin. I've used those for a lot of jam making recipes too. Very successfully. I've been making jam for many years. Okay, and then this other book that I want to talk to you about, because it has a lot of different skills in it. And for this book particularly, I'm impressed with. A lot of people recommend other comprehensive homesteading books, and I've looked at them, and I have a couple of them, but there's some that people recommend, and I'm like, I just really didn't like that book. But I do like this book. It's called Back to Basics, A Complete Guide to Traditional Skills. This is the updated version. It's by Abigail Gehring. And it talks about buying and working land, raising livestock, generating your own energy, enjoying harvest, household skills and crafts, and more. So there's soap making in here, there's sewing in here, there's everything in here. So get yourself a good comprehensive guide. It's very helpful, and it really opens your eyes to more skills for you to learn and to try to get you honing your own skills. Because things like taking care of tools without machinery, doing things without machinery, right? Like chopping wood and stuff like that. We need to start talking about, thinking about, and learning about how to do these things without machines. It just helps us learn skills together. It makes it fun. It makes it great for the kids. And there's nothing wrong with helping each other, right? Like I've told you guys before, you can form groups and support groups and create skills share without letting all of your information hang out, right? So I would encourage you to get together with friends, people that you already know and trust, and find a way to learn skills together. And if your skill that you need to work on is simply cooking whole foods, then start working on it. Start working on it today. When you make your grocery list, look at what you're writing down and start making changes now. A great YouTuber to learn about whole foods from is Mary's Nest. If you go over there, she has a lot of information about beginning to cook with whole foods, and she has a blog with all kinds of information and downloads for free. She doesn't even ask for your email address, and you can get on there and get that information and start working on that. Okay, so I would encourage you that if that's where you are in your situation in life, you need to know how to cook with whole foods, Start there and get going on that, okay? And then also get going on procuring those whole foods. Get them in your house right now, all right? Okay, so like I said, leave me a comment below. Let me know what skills you're working on. I don't know where you guys are at, so you share that with me and let's talk about it. Thanks for joining me. This is Chris from Real Life Prepping. Over and out.